Okay, I'm going to go easy on myself today, and I'm going to allow myself to cheat a little bit. You can't recycle your Christmas homilies. You will not get away with that. But I do want to share an old Christmas homily from several years ago. It's something I haven't shared with any of you, and I think I can get away with it because we're only a week away from Christmas. And what I have to say, it fits well enough in with our gospel reading of the visitation of Mary to Elizabeth, because we're talking about the joyfulness of new life that is about to come. So, what I have to share today is basically nothing more or less than my family's personal incarnation story, aka the story of us adopting Allison from China, my sister. So, we have to go back and we have to set the stage. It was about fall of 2001. Think back to what you were doing back then. Maybe you were watching an episode of 24 with Jack Bauer. Or maybe you were saving up for the most powerful cell phone ever invented, the Nokia 8250. Texts were only 10 cents, as long as they were 280 characters or less. Good times. Well, regardless of your answer, I'll tell you what my mom was doing. Normal mom stuff. I'm talking Oprah's book club. I'm talking about walking the dogs. Standard suburban life. I was away at college. My two siblings were still at home. So it was not a particularly unique year for my mom in any obvious way. So one night, she goes to bed, like any other night, and she just wakes up with a jolt. Like, baby, need to have another baby, gotta be adopted from China. And she felt it right then and there. It was the power of the Holy Spirit. I mean, she was divinely inspired to adopt from China. And it's true that God did not speak to her literally in English, but the sensation was undeniable, and she knew exactly what she had to do. And now, 20-ish years later, my mom has never taken that back. Here are her exact words. She said, "God has called me many times in life. That night, I picked up the phone." I still don't understand why it had to be a kid from China, but my mom understood that perfectly, and that is good enough for me. So this part of the story is pretty darn close to the Annunciation of Gabriel to Mary. We're talking about a message from on high delivered directly to a human being saying, "Good news, a baby's on the way." And my dad, throughout all of this, was very Saint Joseph-like, because Mary gets the Annunciation. Joseph does not. My dad did not have a vision like my mom did that night or any other night. But like Saint Joseph, he understood that what was happening was important to my mom, and it was something worth his time, energy, and support. So, time goes by. I feel like it was almost exactly a year. My mom can correct me on that. But they got all the paperwork done. And right now, as we speak, my brother is trying to adopt from China in just the same way, and it has been so difficult for him. I've lost track of how many years he's been trying to do this. Obviously, COVID has made things absurdly more complicated. But I look back at what my mom and dad did, and it's amazing how much luck they had getting through these, let's call them bureaucratic obstacles. They made great time when it comes to adoption paperwork. It's almost as if it was meant to be. Regardless of how you feel about that stuff, the day came, Mom and Dad went to Beijing, and they picked up Allison when she was almost exactly 1 year old. So here's where the Christmas parallels really kick in for me, when Allison was home. Because you see, right before then, I feel that our family was floundering a bit because there weren't any kids. We were all adults or nearly adults. My brother was 14 as the youngest member of the family, and of the entire Lopina clan, I was next in line to get married and have kids. Maybe you know that pressure. That didn't work out. But regardless of our long-term life decisions, our family gatherings, and especially the holidays, they were getting a little stale because there weren't any kids around. I mean, the clearest examples I can think of, carving jack-o'-lanterns and decorating Christmas cookies, that sort of thing, that doesn't have the same pizzazz if you're not doing it with kids or for kids. It's like almost I'm not saying it's bad or pointless, but I'm saying that something in our lives was missing and we didn't really know what it was. At least I didn't. What the family needed, put bluntly, is we needed a little bit of new life. And that's exactly what a baby brings to a home. In addition to the extra work, the lack of sleep, and all of that, we often think of children as burdens and extra expenses, when in fact, that is one small part of what a baby really is. And when Allison came home, that was an incarnation moment on a family level as opposed to a worldwide level. We were living a micro-nativity scene every day in our home. And I will tell you right now, a change came over all of us. I changed the least, by far, because I was away at college. So I was more of an uncle than a brother for those first few years. So I feel comfortable saying I was a neutral third-party observer. My brother, he changed the most. Absolutely, because remember, he was a garden variety punk teenager. He was in his rap and Grateful Dead phase. He was an expert at annoying his saintly older brother. He was a garden variety 14-year-old. But when he was responsible for Allison, he was like a different person. I saw this patient and wise father-to-be whenever I looked at him. And now, 2 decades later, with a kid of his own, and he's obviously fully grown, he is a good father. And part of the reason he is the good father he is because he had this wonderful head start with our sister. And as for my mom and dad, they needed that. They needed new life in the house to care for besides the dogs and 2 teenagers who were more or less pretty independent at that point. They were not done being parents of a small child. They needed that. And that is immeasurably worth more than the frustrations that also come with a baby. And so, when I think about those early years in Allison's life, no joke, I think of Christmas. Because whether we're talking about Jesus Christ for the world or Allison for my family, we're talking about the joy of newness and life. That newness of life enriches everything around it. And that is what we celebrate at Christmas. For all of us, Christ transforms us spiritually when we welcome him in our hearts. And we need him. My mom needed a 4th kid. She acted on that self-knowledge, and she trusted in the Lord to fill out any other details. And in much the same way, whether we realize it or not, we need him. Because like a baby, he is joy, he is life, and he is newness. And we encounter him with faith, hope, and love.